So I've seen a lot of comments surrounding, why Hide uses the persona known as Scarecrow. So I thought I would, I guess, give my interpretation of it, because some of it kind of falls under basic, like, general knowledge in hindsight, just being smart about how he approaches the ghoul world and how he hides himself and betrays himself among other ghouls, even though he could be, potentially still human. But there also could be lingering issues, like lingering stuff, like bigger reasons on why he actually uses a whole different persona, which I may slightly get into. I could save it for a whole nother video. It's kind of like a very old theory that's been floating around for quite some time, so I don't know. We'll see how the video goes. Alright, so if you guys haven't already guessed, Hide, yes, has fully returned. So throughout this entire time, we found out that Hide was basically under the persona known as Scarecrow. Now, Scarecrow is a very obviously anonymous character throughout the entirety of the story of Tokyo Ghoul Re, with us readers only seeing slither, just tiny little bits of appearances of Scarecrow, and people kind of caught on eventually saying that, this could potentially be Hide, or like, who is this Scarecrow ghoul? Like, why does he keep getting featured even though he's not relevant? So, a lot of people caught on very early that Scarecrow would most likely be a monumental character. Now, the theory surrounding Hide being a Scarecrow was spot on. People have been guessing that for a very long time now, but I keep seeing people asking, why does he use that persona? Now, in hindsight, I want to say it's obviously the safest option for Hide if he's a human, right? Because Scarecrow is classified as a C+ ghoul, or a C-rated ghoul, basically, which is a very, very weak ghoul. Now, the way I picture it, I don't think that's a general rating given by an investigator. I feel like that's just a grouping. I feel like Scarecrow or Hide has been grouped with a bunch of other ghouls, and like, they're not really sure how powerful these ghouls were, so they're just kind of like, yeah, we'll just give them the rating of a C+ ghoul, basically, a pretty average one. So I don't think it's been like directly put on him from like a personal investigator, if that makes sense. For example, if you actually go up against like a really strong character like Eto, for example, and one investigator's like, yeah, fuck that, she's triple S rated 100%, like, that's a direct ghoul rating for her. But I feel like Hide's just kind of been grouped in with a bunch of other ghouls just to give him a general overall rating. In saying that Hide is potentially not a ghoul, and what kind of backs this up to, I don't want to say a perfect degree, but at least a solid evidence surrounding it, is the fact that when Hide or Scarecrow broke out Armon from Dr. Kanau's laboratory, the way Scarecrow approached the situation was very unusual for a ghoul, because considering there was two people that were kind of escorting Armon around the courtyard or whatever, and he took those two people completely off guard. Now, I'm not sure if those people were humans or if they were ghouls. I'd imagine they'd be ghouls to some degree, but, who entirely knows, just for argument's sake. But the way he actually attacked them, even though they were completely caught off guard, Hide actually used RC suppressant gas. Now, what ghoul on this earth would ever use RC suppressant gas to knock out humans or other ghouls, if that makes sense? So I guess prior to Scarecrow obviously infiltrating Dr. Kanau's laboratory and breaking out Armon, in my opinion, most likely to push Armon into the direction of Kaneki's group, Hide most likely would have had a lot of general knowledge surrounding Dr. Kanau's laboratory and the whole point of basically Hide using RC suppressant gas, which is not really a sufficient weapon to use, especially if you're going up against very powerful ghouls. It doesn't just knock them out instantly, but we know that he used the gas to kind of cover himself for one, but also most likely weaken these characters, and then, knocked them out or killed them. I don't think he killed them. I feel like he just knocked them out to a certain degree. I'm not sure. That's kind of like the only massive evidence we've ever seen of, I guess, Scarecrow attacking another person. Very unusual. Like, for a ghoul, even if he was a generally weak ghoul, you think because he's got the jump on two characters that he'd easily be able to take them out, even if he was super weak. So in hindsight, Scarecrow, I want to say, if Hide is a human, is to actually hide the fact that he is indeed a human. From what it seems like, because I'm hoping we get some sort of flashback chapter soon surrounding Hide and what he's been doing under the persona of Scarecrow, but we know that Scarecrow has been working and weaving his way throughout the entirety of the ghoul world for a very long time now. Now, that in itself tells me kind of two things. If Hide was a ghoul entirely, I wouldn't really understand why he would not show his face. I understand, like, the possibility of hiding his identity to, I guess, not meet people that may realize the connection between him and Kaneki, obviously, but there's not really much for him to hide if he's a ghoul. There's not really an issue there. If he at least was a ghoul, he could defend himself and kind of fit in well, but he hides his face for no really particular reason, unless he's kind of scarred completely thanks to Kaneki biting him. But we kind of get that in the presence of his throat, or his tongue has been completely ripped out, so we can't actually talk properly, which a lot of us think is obviously thanks to Kaneki. So I want to say, like, the persona, the mask, everything, the way he dresses, is to completely hide the fact that he's well and truly a human, and he's managed to weave and maneuver around the ghoul world, gaining so much information information, working very closely with ghouls, and most likely the human side as well, by adopting this persona, this fake persona. Mind you, if this is true, if Hide is still a human, he has evolved very tremendously in a very good direction as a character. To be able to manipulate and talk your way, even though you don't even have a voice, throughout the ghoul world and gain so much information is a very powerful character in hindsight. You know, this is going to be a side of Hide that we've never seen before, obviously. Like, how much has he learned from touring the ghoul world under this persona, and how much has he actually influenced Kaneki's decisions in hindsight, in the background. Overall, I want to say the persona itself is to protect Hide, to kind of wipe his original self, to get rid of the quote-unquote Hide name, you know, out of existence, so nothing can kind of tie back to Kaneki and whatnot, as well as keeping the fact that he is most likely still human. Another thing that I feel like kind of backs this up is, for a lot of situations we've seen Scarecrow, for example, the raid on Rue Island, which is a kind of another big thing, Scarecrow managed to dip the fuck out before everyone, which was a little bit confusing at the time, because we all kind of wondered why Scarecrow got that panel time with him rowing a boat away from Rue Island, like he was just on it. What was the point? I want to say at that point, he knew that the CCG were on their way. He knew that investigators and a lot of other human factions were making their move to go and try and destroy Rue Island, basically, to go and capture Aogiri Tree. This makes me believe that Hide has been working with an inside faction, maybe something in the CCG or another faction entirely, that is gaining information, so he knows where to be at the perfect times. It's very coincidental that, you know, Hide managed to completely leave Rue Island before every investigator actually got there, and even other ghouls seeing him rowing the boat, they're like, what the fuck's this man doing? Like, why is he rowing across the water now? And then obviously Rue Island got absolutely obliterated by investigators. So I feel like there's an informant inside of CCG that has been helping Hide this entire time, or he's been working with other human factions as well. You know, you could basically sum it up to the fact that he's a spy, and he's, you know, doing a fucking phenomenal job at it. Does this mean he'll get rid of the Scarecrow persona? I'm not entirely sure. The fact that he's managed to stay alive up to this point, being surrounded by the fucking enemy, basically, he's very smart by the seams of it. You know, Hide has definitely grown as a character just from theoretically what we've seen, and his persona Scarecrow has kept him well and truly alive for a very good time. So I think the biggest question now is whether or not we find out if he has been trying to directly actually help Kaneki, or if he's just kind of been trying to trail after Kaneki or follow him, or, you know, maybe he's working for another organization or another human faction, basically. You know, I've always said that Hide would be the one person, if he ever returned, to join the human world and the ghoul world together, and the fact that it's kind of leading up to that point, it's very exciting. So the persona Scarecrow, it's very scary. You know, Hide has definitely grown tremendously as a character. You know, he's played the field very, very well. He's hidden his identity to a fucking perfection, and everything he's managed to achieve throughout Tokyo Ghoul is literally crazy. So I'm very excited to see if this Scarecrow persona actually gets ripped down and we actually do get to see Hide once again, just seeing what type of character he has really become without the persona, basically. I guess we've all got our fingers crossed for that fateful Kaneki and Hide reunion. We all know is going to be very fucking emotional. So with that being said, let me know what you guys think, because I'm sure you guys have some interesting ideas of your own. But with that being said, I'm actually going to end the video here. Hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I really appreciate it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.